Welcome back to the TOB.Podcast. My name is Summer.
I'm Anne-Marie.
Why was...
Okay.
Damn.
I can't go softer than that. So, like...
It's also 7 a.m. You're whispering in people's ears in Spotify with that voice.
I was like, well, it's not 7 a.m. right now as we're recording, but probably as you're listening.
Because you're faithful Spotify babies. Thank you so much.
All right, I'll try again.
Amri, you said you were unpacking all the weirdness before we started recording. Now you've kissed our subscribers.
In the ears.
In the ear. I'm Queen.
And we are trying our best.
I'm ashamed.
Henry did not say she was
Shame. Dishonor on you and dishonor on your cow.
You know, not surprising.
Don't you worry now. Just hold your head high. Don't you worry now. Just hold your head high. Don't turn around. The prize is not behind you. Keep moving forward.
Okay, well, off to a hot start. If you're not subscribed and that didn't convince you, I don't know what else will.
That probably deterred you. I'm sure they were about to
Don't leave.
subscribe and they're like, oh,
Don't leave,
this
please.
is not a safe space.
Yeah, please.
It's safe. I promise.
You're not. Stop whispering. It's so weird.
What in the call, girl?
This is a Christian podcast, young lady.
Okay.
I know when the whole line break.
That can only mean one thing.
Now I'm trying my best.
Sorry, Lord Jesus. Okay.
If you could just you could comment about everything that just happened. I mean, that's okay too. I always forget too, on Spotify, you guys can rate us 5 stars, and it actually goes a long way over there as well. So if you wouldn't mind just clicking and clacking your way over to that page, that would be wonderful.
Oui.
Awesome. Okay, ladies, I have it's a question, but it's more of a complete the sentence. Okay?
Oh,
Okay.
So, growing up, I knew I was in trouble when... Not the simultaneous sighs.
Okay.
So I can go first. Growing up, first of all, I knew I was in trouble when I made the error. Let's not be, coy here. But my mom had this face when she was angry. She'd make this specific face. She could be saying 0 words and the air would just change. And it's just, you got to stay out of arm's reach. You just trying to make your way around her body without your body getting too close to her body.
Yeah, I think that face is multicultural.
Yeah.
Transcendent.
Generational.
Spans nations, landscapes.
I knew I was in trouble when I heard my mom's car pull into the driveway and the living room was a mess.
The chicken was not taken out of the
chicken
fridge.
was not taken out of the
Or the freezer. Yeah.
And the TV was still hot because we'd been watching it all day and we didn't have to. So me and my brother would start fanning the TV to cool it down. Hard times,
Wow,
guys.
you just unlocked a core memory.
Yeah, this is those box TVs.
Yeah,
Flat screens were not a thing. Okay, these are the ones where the antenna had to do choreography to catch the signal. Yeah, catch it.
Oh gosh, Emery.
Okay. I knew I was in trouble when we were in a public setting and my mom started to speak her about. I didn't, literally, I wouldn't even know what she's saying, what it means. All I know is
Things are escalating.
I'm one wrong move away from actually having the
All you
cops
know
called.
is it wasn't politically correct enough for English.
That's what I'm saying. And that's the things that other people around the store would just be those are just kids. And I'm you don't know that she's threatening my life right now.
You literally got her so angry that she just set back to default settings. And
That's
she was
why, if I'm in a store and I hear a different language going on, I'm bro, you
sorry.
Yeah.
It is what it is. Okay, well, I think we've proven the point. All of us have experienced some sort of discipline or...
Drop yours in the comment. You knew you were in trouble when.
Yeah.
Let's see how crazy it gets.
Actually, that would be a cool reaction video, I think, in the future of just some of our subscribers have been going through it. Do you think that the way that you were disciplined in your childhood is going to shape the way that you guys discipline your children?
See, the thing is, my mom watches this podcast religiously. And she's currently in the country, so her hands can actually physically reach me.
The fact that you're still afraid at your big age.
I'm not afraid.
Okay, no, my mom has she's not hit me in decades. But listen, my mom,
I think there comes an
could have
age.
been a part of like WrestleMania.
There comes an
when
age
I was a child. Like,
I
I'm
think
not even kidding.
There comes an age where like your parent is like, low key, they could take me.
Oh yeah.
Like if they really got them mad, they could take me.
She has the exact same height and build as like Rey Mysterio. Do you guys know who Rey Mysterio is? The guy who used to put on the mask when he came into the ring. Yeah, that one.
That's why I laugh so hard, because I know what your mom looks like. The thing is, she's so tiny and cute, but I'm like, I feel like she could really throw down.
She's a chihuahua. Don't get it twisted.
See, my mom was a wrestler.
What?
You didn't know this?
No, and now I'm picturing her in one of those unitards.
No.
No, guys, like my mom was creative.
That's the thing. It's the creativity. It's not the punishment. It's how much pizzazz you can give it.
There was this one time I had gone out to play with the neighbors. And I was the only girl playing with these boys, playing a little soccer here, a little whatever. And I had obviously overplayed my time.
What does that mean?
And that's the thing. The thing is, there was never like a set time.
It was a vibe.
It was a vibe. It was like if the sun is like in a particular position,
Then you've obviously.
But you always know. You always know that you've overplayed your time. And so I come home and my mom is sat on the balcony and there's a pail, like a bucket next to her. Obviously I'm shaking my boots, but I don't see a belt. I'm like, oh, we're cool. She's one of the girls. I greet her. I'm about to walk into the door and I spot a leather belt in the bucket.
That's
of
crazy.
water.
That's actually...
This woman has been soaking the belt.
What?
Yes. Waiting for it to expand.
Get real pliable.
And then she goes, give me that bucket.
No.
All of a sudden, my hearing was affected. I said, I'm not sure. She said, give me the bucket. Bro, have you ever had to hand your enemy their weapon?
I'm gonna be honest. That was my mom's favorite move. My mom's favorite move was go and get the object I'm gonna use to display.
Like a psychological warfare before the actual physical torture.
The amount of times I started bawling my eyes out before it even started.
Bro, I remember my dad only that I remember, because probably like I've lost some memory from all the like torture. But from what I remember, my dad only hit me like 2 times. There was this one time he had me go fetch it. And me, I'm thinking like, I have sense. I went and picked like the tiniest belt. Those are the, those ones cut deep. And they were beating me and I was there and I was like, wow. I really chose my own demise.
Because Queen, you knew the preferred one. Yeah, and you're like, no, this one's too much. Let me have mercy on myself. Bro, my mom loved the stick you'd use for fufu. So like it was a real traumatic relationship, because like I loved what you made with it, but like and like there was one that like eventually like and like my poor brothers, like she's broken some of them, and so like some of them are like splintered off.
There's something psychological about bigging your back and beating your back with the same spoon. Like,
I mean, you even talk at least with the fufu one, like the spoon had rested in between. There was this one time my mom was frying peanuts.
Oh, you told me this.
She was frying peanuts. She heard like Steven had spilled something in like the bathroom, straight from the fire to his buttocks. I said, wow. Like, I'm not, as God is my witness, so it's like, sorry, Steven, I love you. But it was like...
Don't you?
Pass it up behind you. Keep moving forward.
Oh my gosh.
Context, that our little generic that you hear at the beginning and the end of the episode was written by my younger brother, Steven. I mean, he testified.
This is my story. This is my song.
The rocks will not cry out. But yeah, he has like a little birthmark on like his, his bum from that day. And every time I'm like, wow, we really have survived some things.
Honestly, I didn't think this episode would be so funny.
I mean, my original question was, how is this affecting the way you guys are gonna parent?
It's giving me a great sense of humor. I'll say that much.
Let me tell you what my mom did. Hold up.
Yeah, so
no, you pulled a. What did you go through, and what did the Lord do for you? And we're like, long story short, to keep it brief.
Oh my gosh. My chest hurts. Okay, let's just gather ourselves.
The question was...
By the way, guys, we take abuse very seriously.
We're not advocating for hot spoons.
I just need to preface. I have to preface that I laugh through my trauma, and that's okay.
We all do.
How would you have survived? What do you mean?
Yeah. So I feel like it's influenced, the way I plan on disciplining my children by just inspiring the things that I should probably veer away from, and then, but also I feel like it's seeing how and maybe this is a cultural thing, seeing how certain kids in my school systems were disciplined. I was like, did you need as strict of a hand? Absolutely not.
Do you know what's
Did
funny?
you need a strict hand? Yeah.
Do you know what's funny? I was actually thinking about this on the right. I was like, it had to have been such a mind twister for you to be having that experience at home, bro, while being a part of a society where majority of the kids
CPS
were not experiencing at least for me, I was bonding with my classmates over our shared,
Yeah.
And our teachers were also doing that to us at school, so it was
I think we watched a lot of Dr. Phil growing up, and
didn't work.
No, it was one of those ones where we saw those kids and we were grateful.
bad baby.
Get me outside with the belt and a bucket.
Too soon.
I'm so sorry.
But yeah.
Yeah, so I do agree with the sentiment of it probably didn't need to be that extreme, but there is a underlying necessity to be firm, right? We know Bible verses that allude to the way that you should be carrying your household, whether you're the father leader or the mother of that home. Queen, did you have anything for the way it's influenced the way you're gonna parent?
I think telling my children about the ways in which I was disciplined should be fear-inducing enough. I'll sit them down.
Do you think you could tell them without laughing?
Turn off the lights. I mean, I think between now and then I would have had enough time to get my game face together.
And you're just gonna pull out don't make me send you to grandma's house.
That should be enough.
Honestly, yeah.
Yeah. Okay, no, kidding. No, I mean, to Anne-Marie's point, it's so funny because even my youngest brother and I have a significant age gap between us. So I was basically his mother. I did everything except breastfeed him. And, well, if it was up to him, I would have. Because, at that age, children cannot tell the difference. They just see a pair of boobs and they're like, mine. But I pretty much was his mom, and because my parents travel a lot for work. And the thought of beating him it did not connect to me. I loved him so much, and I realized that when I would talk, he would listen to me, and there were other ways, to put the fear of God in him. And I would see, my brothers, other boys in the house, beat him, and my heart would almost leap out of my chest. And I noticed that every time that they spoke to him or they tried to give him an instruction, he wouldn't listen. But all it would take was one word from me, and he would, to this day, my mom would call me and say, talk to your brother, he's doing X, Y, Z, and I'll have a conversation with him. And it will be cool. And I think we don't, for whatever reason, I don't know if it's a societal thing, I don't know if it's a generational thing, but I feel like we don't understand the importance of creating a safe space for a child. There's a reason why certain children listen more to their teachers at school or in kindergarten or whatever than they do to their parents, because, their parents are their first bullies, while this teacher has been able to provide a safe space for them. And I think the first step to discipline is love. Discipline in itself should come from a place of love. And so if I'm raising my child in love, I think I would not need to go to certain extremes for them to listen to my voice.
Yeah, I 100% agree. I think on a previous episode we talked about when you're raising your child, is it about them just being an extension of your whims, or is this a well-rounded person that you're trying to teach and pour into? And I think that's such a big part for me is just the way that I grew up. It was a very cold house, and taking away from that is just making sure that my child understands yes, you did something wrong, but I don't love you less, right? Like, yes, you did something wrong and there will be a consequence, but we're still on the same team, right? Like, that's what's going to happen. And I think that comes from encouraging your children to ask questions like why, right? Encouraging them to ask questions like, how does this happen? What was the way that we got to this, you know? And like, I can see how that could be annoying when you just want your 4-year-old to put on his pants and get ready for kindergarten and he's not listening and he's saying, why do we need to wear pants? But like, just taking that 2 minutes to like, well, we live in a society that if you go outside, first of all, there's terrible humans that'll try and snatch you up just because you don't have pants on. But the other side is that, you know, we want to look presentable and cool and with all of our other, like, there's just so many things that you can tell a little kid and they'll get it. And all that takes is like a little bit more patience than letting the belts and the hands fly. So yeah, I'm definitely on that side.
Society definitely undermines how intelligent kids can be. And like,
100%.
You don't, I think resulting to like physical means of disciplining your kid is just so like Neanderthal like low IQ'd, because like all my bad, sorry.
I was about to say it, but
oops, sorry. But no, like in my mind, I'm like you said, like it starts from like a position of love when you're disciplining your kid. So if you're getting to the point of physical abuse, is it because you love your kid or because you're just angry in that moment and unable to emotionally regulate yourself, right? And then you're then teaching your kid that, okay, when someone does something wrong and you're angry about it, you can, like, don't be surprised when you get a call from your kid's teacher saying he hit another kid, which is something I actually did now that I think about it.
Dang.
Yeah.
You're beating kids?
I was, okay, in my defense, I gave him fair warning, all right?
Oh.
That's crazy.
I was painting, and in kindergarten, painting was my everything. Like, there was nothing I loved more. And he kept messing up my painting, and I was like, stop it. And he didn't stop. And I was like, if you keep going, I'm going to punch you in the face.
Dang.
And he kept going. And then I punched him in the face. Now, did I learn that probably wasn't the most constructive way to take out my emotions? Yes, but like, you learn behavior that you from what you experience.
Yeah. When you said now, I thought you were going to say, now, did I stand on business? Yes. I mean, facts. Like, you know.
That too.
Was my yay and my name? Yes.
Yeah, I love the point that you said in there, just about like emotional regulation. Like, as funny as, you know, retelling the stories are, and I want to be like, I feel like there's a whole bunch of people in the audience being like, oh, a little Caucasian summer, never got. My stories are just a lot darker, I think. Like, I'm sitting here trying to put a comedic spin on it.
In complexion?
Right. And a lot of that came from just lack of emotional regulation, right? And I can see why someone, you know, even as the adult I am now, it's very hard for me to picture coming home to like tiny humans that I have to help survive through the next 24 hours, right? Like when you go to work all day and you have to, something's going on with the car and you're trying to do Bible study, you know, online, and you have to make sure that your husband is happy with whatever and food is on the table, and then you have this little kid saying like, why do I have to brush my teeth? And you're like, just you know, like, I can see why that would happen, but I think that there's like two schools of thinking, right? Like there's that, it's like, I don't know if it's like an adage, but it's like these two sons were born to an alcoholic father, right? And like one of them grew up to be an alcoholic and one of them grew up to be like a doctor and a lawyer. And like they asked doctor or lawyer, and they asked him, why did you do this? And he said, because my father was an alcoholic and I just didn't want to like exhibit the same behavior. Where the other son who was an alcoholic, they're like, why did you do this? And he's like, because my dad's an alcoholic. Like, why would I be anything different, right? Yeah. And so as much as our parents can influence us, I do think it does boil down to personal choice and like wanting to be different for various reasons, right? Yeah.
I also would say like, I'm sorry. As like eldest, I feel like the oldest children do get it a lot harder. By the time the youngest one is around, like I think like one, there's a level of softness, and even like they get the added benefit of the guidance of the older sibling to be like, listen, if you don't want to experience what I went through,
do y'all be listening though?
I try.
Also, it's just it's not fair because have you ever heard about like the throwaway pancake? Like the first pancake you make, you always throw it away. So like we didn't come with an instruction manual. Our parents were young when they had us. They were just trying to figure out life and love and marriage and parenthood, and so they just threw what they had at us. And by the time the third or fourth baby comes along, they're like, they have it down pat. They have other kids in the house to help with the younger kid. Like it's a completely different experience. Right?
Yeah, I'm sorry, guys.
I mean, we're funny, so there's that. What do you guys think about when people like weaponize verses in the Bible to like justify? Because I know there are people in the audience that are saying, you know, don't spare the rod. It needs to be a physical thing. It's more than letting them ask why and giving them timeouts. Like, what do you have to say about people that kind of use that line of thinking?
I think when it comes to biblical interpretation, yes, there are some verses that are very straight to the point, very literal, and other verses are a bit more figurative. Like you need to check the Hebrew and the Greek and all these things. But I think it all boils down to intention, right? Like with that particular verse, just like the Ephesians verse of honor your mother and father, the intention has, not always, but a lot of the scenarios in which I've seen those verses be employed has been from a place of manipulation, has been from a place of self-serving, control, as opposed to being a reflection of God. And that's why I always harp on read the scripture to understand God's character, not just to fit a verse into your narrative. And so, yes, we were talking about this before we started filming, but the verse that Summer specifically references from the book of Proverbs, right? Like spare the rod and spoil the child. And the word rod is used multiple times in scripture. Another verse that comes to mind is Psalm 23, which is a very popular verse. And it's funny because before we started recording, that particular line popped into my mind and I was like, wait, that doesn't make any sense. So the line I'm referring to is the line that says, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Yeah. I'm like, both of those things are sticks, which are typically used to discipline. But how can David be saying that it is comforting, right? And so now when you want to now bring that into our present day, into our current world, I'm like, okay, yes, discipline in the moment doesn't feel good, but redirection, guidance, all of that leads to a place of comfort.
And like, look at like what a shepherd is using a rod for, right? Like, if a shepherd took out his rod and started violently beating a sheep, congratulations, you have 99 sheep and you can't find the
But the thing too is like, the funny thing is the rod is a means of communication because the sheep can speak, they cannot understand language.
Right, it's telling you, okay, don't go there, you're about to run into, like fall into a pit.
So the primary function of the rod is to communicate and to guide
and protect
It's not to inflict pain. When if it inflicts pain, it means like the sheep is stubborn. But even then, it's like a shepherd cherishes each of his sheep. Sheep are expensive, so it's not like they want to just kill a sheep. They don't want the sheep to be bruised. They don't want the sheep to not be marketable. So even if the discipline has to become a little harsher, they still need to exert a certain level of control to where the sheep is still going to be protected and safe, right? Yeah. But we don't. At least for me, I don't really see that translated into our human experience, where especially when it comes to children, like there's like you had mentioned, we underestimate how intelligent children are. We also underestimate how sensitive children are. I'm just like, we don't talk to adults this way. We don't beat adults this way. So why do we think that behavior is okay to inflict on children?
Even more so, if an adult did speak to you like that and did treat you like that, it would be a problem.
Right. Yeah.
And so I don't know why sometimes, like, it's like I can throw all of this at the most impressionable, the most vulnerable part of our society, right? And then be surprised when they grow up and don't want to talk to you, or they grow up and like they're angry at the world. And I'm like, if you treated a child's like emotions and just existence as delicately as they are, then you can foster and grow up a good like individual on the inside and out.
Yeah. No, I think like for any parents watching, I think that it's important to look at what's motivating your behaviors currently, right? Like I had a conversation with a church leader like fairly recently, and I was talking to them about leading with love, right? And the way that you have to be able to adapt to all different types of people as a leader over, you know, a congregation or over a business, if you're a manager, like whatever it is. And like that doesn't change when you're in a family. And he had said, like, I think that you're being shallow. Like, I don't think that you're going deep. Like, as a parent, there's a lot more that I know than, like, you as a child. I've lived longer, which is not all untrue. But one, if God could use donkeys, he could use a child to explore things, right?
He literally used Samuel to correct, not correct, but to bring a word of correction to Elijah.
Exactly. And so my rebuttal to him, and I said, with all due respect, like, I understand that perspective, but I think that it's very shallow to say, well, I'm older than you, and that is justification enough. Sorry for my behavior. And I'm like, that also feels like you went this deep, and we're like, well, like, I have my veto card. There's no reason to push back this.
But the funny thing is, like, even that boundary is a boundary that they themselves set. Like, the level of depth. It wasn't like a depth that they couldn't control. You chose to only go ye deep when you could have gone deeper, and there was always the opportunity to go deeper.
Yeah. And even just, like, the idea that, like, it's small-minded to explain to a child what they're doing wrong than just, like, giving them a punishment. Because I'm like, especially, like, the younger a child is, it is difficult. They're hard to convince, right? A 2-year-old will tell you no, over and over and over again, and you're like, you're literally gonna die. Like, don't. And they're like, no, I'm gonna do this anyways. And, like, I think that is probably a lot difficult than just picking up the kids, kicking and screaming, and, like, dragging them out of whatever, doing X, Y, and Z. I think that is a lot more difficult. That involves a lot more depth and thought.
Yeah, depth and thought. And I think that I've seen time and time again where I will see a child, like, ask why, and it's immediately received as like disrespect, right? And, like, why is seeking, like, don't you want this person to go on to ask why in his workplaces, in his walk with God, like, in his own relationships? Like, I don't think that the adults that I frequent would settle for just whatever somebody's going to hand them if they don't think that they're being dealt a fair portion. Like, it is a human reaction to ask why. It's not disrespectful.
Even, like, logically, I'm like, you're a kid. You literally don't know.
You don't know. I saw a thing the other day where it's like, when kids, like, kick and scream because as if this is the worst day of their life when you take something away. I'm like, they've been here for 5 minutes. This is probably the worst day of their life. Like, it probably is,
Just to bring it a bit back to the word, right? The book of Hebrews 12:6 says, because the Lord disciplines the ones he loves, and he punishes each one he accepts as his child. And just to circle back to the point we made at the beginning, that discipline, the origin, the first step to discipline is love, right? Like, even when we're talking about soft life, and Anne-Marie said, even that soft life that you want, it requires a level of discipline to do that. And for you to want to do those things requires a level of self-love. To say, okay, if I want to get fitter, I want to get healthier, then I have to wake up at 6 a.m. It's not a pleasant thing, but ultimately you're doing a good thing for yourself. If you want to save a certain amount of money by the end of the year, you have to restrict yourself in certain other areas, right? And so, again, bringing that back into parental discipline, or just any other relationship you have in your life, like Summer said, what is the motivation for that? Is it control, or is it I genuinely want to better your life? And so I need you to understand that what I am doing ultimately is for your good, not just to make you a puppet.
Yeah, this has nothing to do with children, but I think I watched, like, is it Queen Latifah? It's not Queen Latifah. It's Monet.
What is it that you watched?
I feel really bad for... Okay, but anyways, she was talking about, like, her husband telling her to lose weight, right? And she was, like, literally... And her husband married her knowing exactly how she looked like. And she was kind of like... She was like, at first, like, I was really, really hurt. And the way that he went about it, he basically was like, I love you so much that I want you to be on this planet for as long as possible, right? And I'm like, I love you however you look, but I want you to live as long as possible. And it's like... You hear, like, other men, other podcasts being like, oh, like, your woman's, like, letting herself go. Like, she's looking like this, blah, blah, blah. She has cellulite and thick thighs, and we get it. And all this ways to disparage someone. And it's like, did you really want them to live a long, healthy life? Or did you want them to just look like the aesthetic that you wanted? And that's where your correction came out of.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, just going back to the motivating, like, the motivation behind things. Are you being motivated by love, right? With that same conversation, when I had kind of broke it down in very simple terms, that person had said, well, I don't have to do that, right? And because of who I am or what I've achieved or how far I've come or what I've already given out, I don't have to continue to give out. I'm at a position where I can slow down and stop and dictate my life, which is like, I understand, right? Like,
give out what? What was
I was saying, like, to be leading with more softness, right? To be love. I think that love is more than just things. It's more than just a roof over your head. It's more than just food in the fridge. And in that conversation, this person has known me for quite some time, and he knows that, like, I moved out very, very young from my house. It's not that I didn't have a roof and food and a room of my own and a warm bed. Love is more than that, right? Love, and I think that applies to our relationship with God as well. It's not just showing up to church. It's not just putting a Bible quote in your IG bio, right? Like, it very much is intimacy. It's getting to know that person. It's caring about the things that they care about and fellowshipping with them. And I think that's a big part of parenthood, and like relations with your children, right? So he was saying, I don't have to. I've done enough. I've given my all, and to ask me to now lead with another chapter and opening it with something that I'm completely unfamiliar with, I shouldn't have to do those things. And so bringing it back to what's motivating, it's like, do you want this person to feel loved, right? Do you want this person to feel of value, or is it, do you just want to have it your way? Do you just want to be the authority? Do you just want to be the end all be all? And if that's your goal, that's your goal. And, you know, I think that that's a very hard place to work your way out of, but I don't think that that is the correct motivator as somebody, as a leader or as a parent, right?
Yeah, I also think, like, thinking about what you want your child to be motivated by.
Exactly.
Right? Like, is their good behavior now motivated because they're in fear that they're going to face your wrath? Or are they doing the right thing because they understand why it's important to do the right thing? And they'll pick that decision whether you're there as a authority figure or not. Yeah, just, do you want them to do it because they know why, or because they're scared of you? Because when you're no longer there, then what are they scared of?
Again, that comes back to the character of God, right? Like, even when we saw the way God dealt with the Israelites, if you look at the book of Judges, there were several periods in the people of Israel where they had no king, and the Bible would often say the voice of the Lord was silent in those days. They had no king, they had no ruler, and God was just hands off. He was like, okay, you guys want to serve other gods? You want to live a life of, you know, profanity and all these things? Do that. And then they will now have to cry out to God. And God will respond, and he would ordain somebody to rule. And as long as they were obedient, he was present. When they chose not to be obedient anymore, he let them be. Like, there were times where, like, even that absence was a discipline. There were times where the discipline was a bit more overt, right? But God dealt with them. Like, ultimately, he wanted them to desire a relationship with him, not to dictate how that relationship, you know, should go, essentially. The second thing I want to say, just back to Summer's point, is particularly within a Christian context, I think a lot of our leaders, a lot of our parents, not particularly us, but just in general, don't see God as sovereign. They see themselves as sovereign. They don't consider God to be sovereign. And I say that because I don't see them entrusting God with your children. I don't know if this makes sense, but it's like they entrust the church more with their children than they entrust God himself. And I say this because something I started to do in my relationship with my husband, if we needed to have a difficult conversation, if there was just anything that I needed to get off my chest, how big or little, I started going to God first. And be like, okay, Abba, I would like to have this conversation with my partner. You know our different communication styles. You know how I tend to be. Help me say the right things. And even before I go into that room, prepare his heart to be yielding to me. And there was a significant difference between the times where I would do that and the times where I won't, because I trusted God with my relationship. And ultimately, my motivation shifted from I want to be right to I want to honor God. And I want to treat this person in a way that honors God. And I think that's a shift that if that happens in our communities, like a lot of the families, there's going to be a lot of healing that would happen, and the subsequent generations will grow up to be more, like you said, well-rounded human beings.
Two things, like just when you had said about parents trusting their children with God, right? This is something that Emery and I have struggled with. Like, we are Sunday school teachers.
I love you guys.
We love those little kids so much. But for example, some of those children's parents are leaders, and it is been like pulling teeth to get them to have their kids be present for Sunday school, for online classes, for whatever it is. And that was something that had come up previously in the conversation. And I was saying, like, that doesn't feel like you are teaching your kids to prioritize God either, right?
Yeah.
If going to Walmart, if going to watching shows, to whatever it is, like, if you're not prioritizing, and we're not saying you have to be here every Tuesday and Thursday for the full hour, but like having those conversations, if your children see what you're prioritizing, then they are obviously going to mimic those prioritizations. And so I think that comes back to trusting the church with your kids more than trusting God with your kids, because as a parent, I know, like, from the day they pop out, we're reading Bible verses, like, you're gonna hear them, right? Like, that's
you're popping out. I know I'm not gonna hang. You shut up, kid.
Yeah,
that's how you're coming out.
You guys can be in the delivery room just like holy, right? Like, that's what can happen in the background. I want it to be such a central part of my children's life that by the time they reach, you know, their 20s and 30s, it's like they couldn't imagine doing life without God, because it's always been the constant thing. And I think
like
that's
that same book of Proverbs says, raise a child in the way he should go, in the way she should go, so that when they're older they will not depart from it. It's like when you have to resort, literally it's a societal norm to resort to more harsh, methods when that's the last resort. But we see that happen just like on a regular Tuesday afternoon, and it's like, bring the knife.
Imagine HR punished people like some parents did.
Right.
If HR punished people like parents did, we would be rich.
That's true. We give you like 3 warnings. 3 warnings, and then you get a suspension, and then you're like, okay.
Right, and I'm like, they give you, and like, to fire you, they'll put you on a performance, a re-performance plan, right? They'll do weekly check-ins with you, make sure that your behavior is blah, blah, blah. And so I'm like, look how much patience other adults are willing to have with other adults, and you can't extend that much grace for someone who's been on this earth
your
for
own
like
flesh and blood.
So this
not even my own flesh and blood, like even like looking at like
your own adoptive papers.
other people's kids. I'm like, I actually would tackle your parent for you. If it ever came down to it.
No, I'm just saying, like, the Bible says, like, if a father could, if a child could ask the father, I want fish, and the father would give him that, how much more your Father in heaven? So just bringing that back, like, if HR, people who were just my employers, can be this patient, how much more the people who actually brought me into this world? But then we see that it's happening in reverse.
I think that comes from, like, the idea that society has put it in, that, like, family sticks together no matter what. And I'm like, I could actually leave you.
We're gonna have to talk about that someday.
It's actually optional. And like the idea that like you just have a relationship with your family because they are your family is just a myth. Like, they're also just human beings that have their own consciousness, that have their own ways of thinking, and if you don't cultivate a relationship with them, they can grow to resent you.
Yeah, no, for sure. As you guys were talking, so we mentioned it before, we put out a clip about saying be nice to the men in your life, and a whole bunch of comments were like, you'll find out soon, sweetie, right? And I very much feel that energy of us talking about what type of parents we think would do well, and like how you should be towards your kids. I can just feel so many parents being like, you'll find out soon, like, but I want to make sure that it's clear we're not saying that we think this is like an easy thing, right? It does take patience, it does take strength, it does take trust and faith and a strong relationship with God, right? And just kind of circle back to that same conversation. At one point, this is a grown man, and he started like tearing up a little bit, and like he was like, if you knew how much I actually cared about these people, if you knew how much I actually sacrificed, I could weep in front of you right now. Like, I have given this my all. So the fact that I feel like you're saying I haven't moved in a place of love, like that, you're breaking my heart right now. And I was saying, like, they're two separate things, right? Like, I'm not saying that you haven't given your all. I'm not saying that we don't appreciate the effort that you have given. I'm not saying that you haven't tried your best. I'm saying that there's always room to grow, right? Like, there's always an opportunity to make a different decision. There's always a new chapter that you can throw yourself into if you are willing. I'm not saying that it's easy, and I'm not saying that the effort that you have put before is discredited, but I am saying that something needs to be done. And if you're not, then I think that you're actively moving from a place of rebellion.
Yeah, I don't know how much time we have, but this just popped into my mind as you're speaking. Like, I would like us to touch on the idea that as a parent, provision is the ultimate display of love. Like, you have a roof over your head, you have food on your table. I'm working 50 hours a day to provide for you. So even if I don't play with you, I'm not present at your recitals, those things don't matter because you have clothes on your body. What do we think of that?
One, I think that, like, in Canada at least, providing for me is your legal obligation. But, like, not say that, but also not say that it's small, right? I think that there is a huge sacrifice to, especially, like, in a place where, like, affording things is hard, right? Formula is expensive. Food is expensive. And so to want to provide and give your kids everything, I can see how that is act of love. But people remember how you make them feel more than what, like, the things you bought for them, right? Like, I might never remember, that pair of earrings, that's something like, actually, no, that's something I might remember, but, like, I might not remember, you bought me Dunkaroos on Wednesday, but I'll remember you being at my basketball game for the rest of my life. I'll remember, like, when I won this, like, championship, I was there with, like, my mom, my dad, my cousin, so on and so forth. You think about the feelings of those memories more than you do the material things that went into that.
Yeah. And again, we've used this parallel multiple times, right? Like, your adult relationships. If you were in a romantic relationship with somebody who bought you, lavish gifts and expensive cars and diamond necklaces every week, but they were never there.
Yeah.
You never saw them. You talked to them maybe twice over the phone. Would you call that a relationship? That's a sponsorship, if anything. You know where I'm going. But I think we underestimate I think human beings in general, but especially children's need for presence.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, it means so much for a child to see their parent consider their recital an important thing, their art project an important thing, their game an important thing. Because, like Summer said, right, like, that kicking and screaming, you might think, this is not the worst day in your life, but they've only been here for 5 minutes. So, like, this game, this has been the ultimate goal that I've been trying to achieve the entire year. So right now, this is the best or the worst day of my life. And you get to decide what day I'm going to have today, whether by your presence or your absence. And another thing is, like, those things don't have to be mutually exclusive. Like, yes, it's a sacrifice for you to go out there and toil and win the bread for your family and all the things, especially in the current economy. Like, it's we appreciate that. That's amazing that you're performing your God-given duty, right? But there's other ways to express love as well, and you have to make time for those things.
It's also a sacrifice to come home at the end of the day and prioritize spending, like, 30 minutes with your kid, right? Like, something that, like, I really, really admire about my brother is that, like, no matter how long the day is, he's like, I need to be home before you go to bed, right? And, like, that last hour I have, like, you have my complete and utter attention. There's no phone, there's no nothing.
That's so funny.
And he'll sit on the floor and, like, play Spider-Man and, like...
because Love FaceTimed him the other day, it was a couple weeks
ago. And he won't answer.
No, he answered, but he was completely in the dark, right? And this was, like, 8 p.m. And Love was like, there's no way you're sleeping right now. He's like, what? It's bedtime. And I was like, bro, turn on the lights. I need to tell you something. He turns on the lights and all his kids are right there with him. Like, Ezra's like bright-eyed. Like, he's like, no, they're not even. They were like in the middle of a game or something. And I'm like, why were the lights off? But it was like, this was important time for him. And I was like, man, I love that so much for those children and for you too. Because it's not only for the children, it's also for you as the parent.
And I'm like, I know for a fact that you're exhausted. Like, you would want nothing more to just, like, sit on your Xbox and play Madden and then, like, knock out at 11 p.m. But, like, it's a lot of effort. And that's why, like I said it previously, like, really evaluate why you're having kids, right? Because it's a lot of work and it takes a lot of patience and a lot of sacrifice. And you have to truly love them to want to do that.
Be wise about who you have kids with, because also...
And that's on per.
But I loved what you had said about, like, the memories are going to be more important than, like, the things, right? So your brother could have bought his kids one of those, like, little tiny cars and, like, all the Spider-Man things and painted their room, but I guarantee you, growing up, they're going to remember the hour before bed that they got to spend with their dad every day.
It's funny.
Right?
My nephew's favorite toy is a toy soldier that's, like, this big from Dollar Tree, right?
I think we have
a room.
She took it.
You have to love kids. A room full of toys, and his favorite one is like something that's so insignificant. It's just because like he really wanted it, and his mom bought it, and he's like, "This is my favorite toy now." And so like, it's not about how much; it's about the intention. Even like I think about, you know, those videos on Instagram of like little kid concerts, and like you see the kid just like not looking at the crowd of people. They're literally just looking for their parents, for their family,
and then their face like lights up when they see their mom and dad. One thing I wanted to say too, like just when we're kind of putting things forward as far as like why this is important, right? Why you need to be intentional, why you need to do these things. There's a long-term impact if you don't prioritize time with your kids, right? So, for example, like I mentioned, like I had like a very, you know, cold house. That's the best way I can put it, right? And at a very, very young age, I felt unloved. I felt unliked. I felt unwanted. And, you know, being 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, going through these spirals of like, were you happy when you got pregnant? Like,
did you even want me?
Were you excited when you found out you were having a girl? Like, when I was little, were you like shopping for dresses? Like, did you have those moments? And like genuinely questioning if that ever happened, or was I just a burden? Was I just a mistake? Was I just a regret? Going through that at those developmental ages, I really did carry it into, you know, my teens and my 20s and on. And it was like this internalized, like, well, I'm not good enough, right? Like rejection makes sense. Like who would want to have me? Like who would be excited for me to be around? And that was, I don't think any of it was intentional from my parents. It came down to emotional regulation and like communication and intentionality and all of the things that we're speaking about, right? And so even if your kids are already 18, 19, 20, it's nothing to start prioritizing, telling them how much you love them, telling them how important they are, reminiscing on when they were just innocent little babies and the favorite silly thing that they did in the bath when they were 6 months old. Like, just do the things, because there's really nothing that compares to feeling like wanted and loved.
And like to them, right? Like, in your head and in your heart, you might feel all of these things and have all these emotions, but or like your child cannot just read that, or they don't just get that from you providing for them and yada, yada. You have to use your lips and your words to actually say it to them so that they become aware of it and they can internalize that.
Yeah, the first time, at least I recognized my dad saying I love you to me, I was probably here in Canada, and I was just like,
That's a little too old.
Sounded very weird.
That's suspicious.
And then like you have adults that are like very uncomfortable with any type of emotion.
But I appreciated it. Like I understood what it took for him to get to that point. But I wanted to circle back a little bit, because somewhere when you talked about, you can hear the people saying, "Oh, wait till you become a parent," this and that. And I think that's the problem. Yeah. It's like we don't realize that the human beings that we are now inform who we will be in those relationships. It's the same thing with marriage, right? You've cheated on every single girlfriend or boyfriend that you've had in your life, but you think that once that ring is on your finger, automatically a padlock is going to go on your genitals. And it's like, that's not how it works. Yeah. Like, and the same thing goes for parents, right? Like the way that you show up in your friendships, the way that you show up in your romantic relationships, the way that you show up at work. Are you somebody who takes emotional regulation seriously? Are you somebody who, watches their words? Are you somebody who is quick to lay hands on people? And I'm not talking about prayer, Are you somebody who is slow to anger, is patient, all these things? Because that is the person that is going to have kids. You're not going to automatically become somebody else once you pop that baby, or once you implant that seed in that woman. You're not going to become somebody else then. And I'm sorry for the graphic details.
And I think that's even tying back to Summer's first question, like, what would you do different? I think I have a lot of grace and empathy, because I don't think you knew, like, a lot of, baby boomer parents knew better, or knew how to regulate their emotions, or had, as much therapy as I had, very expensive, to like learn different coping mechanisms. And so I can see that you were just doing the best you could with what you had. Yeah. But
your best could be better.
That too. And also just like acknowledging that, seeing
I'm gonna need you to clock it out loud. Not the little side, clock it.
Hey, I'm trying to give a dog a bone. Okay. Right? And I think sorry.
I'm sorry.
Best could be better.
Yeah. You were saying, I know that you were trying your best.
Like they were trying their best, and I want to learn from that so I don't inflict the same pain. Like, the way I think about it is, one, you should take client surveys, all right? You raised me up until this point, maybe a feedback survey to see how well it
exit interview.
Yeah. Okay, but which one of us is exiting?
Whichever one needs to, like, whatever, you know. There was something that, because Queen and I have talked about, like, parenthood when we used to go for our little walks around the lake and stuff like that, and I was saying to her, like, the one thing, of course I want to have, you know, a nice home and, like, a financially sound, all these things, but, like, the one thing that I'm adamant about giving my children is just, like, a healthy, whole person.
Yeah.
I think that we made it out the trenches by God's grace, but imagine if we were given healthy, whole parents, like, how much farther ahead would we be? And, like, that's the one thing that I'm determined to give my son or daughter.
Yeah, and like not even maybe you're not I'm gonna advocate for you to be completely healthy, but like no one's perfect, right? It's the idea that like I'm gonna continuously improve, right? I'm gonna continuously be better. If I go about it some way and like my kid's like, I hate you, I'm not just gonna be like, oh well, whatever. I'm gonna actually be like, okay, let me sit with that and like see where I can improve.
No, I love that. And again, I wasn't saying perfect. I'm saying healthy whole. And I think healthy whole is somebody that's determined to continuously do that internal work. Right?
That's what I was about to say. Like, the healthiest human being is a human being who is actively learning, actively seeking improvement. Because, like, even just taking that literally, right? If somebody has built their dream body brick by brick, they have 10 abs, you know, their heart rate is perfect, and they're just like, you know what? I've achieved it. I'm not going to walk another day in my life. What's going to happen? You're going to start to decline, right? Yeah. Like, you have to keep maintaining that health, and you keep doing that by trying every day, even if it's just for 10 minutes, if it's for 30 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever. And that's the same way we try in our relationships or with our kids and vice versa.
Yeah.
100%.
Try your best, but also try to be better.
Amen.
Doing your best.
Okay, I think we should wrap it there. We have been yapping, but I hope that you guys enjoyed at home. Again, I would love to hear all of your feedback, your comments, your funny parents did this because I forgot to do that stories. I would love to hear it all down there. Don't forget to like, don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to try your best.
Try your best, you better.
Where did that come from?
I'm making it a theme song.
But where did it come from?
Literally my head.
Right. Okay.
See you next week.
See you. Bye.
You right now. Just hold your head high. Don't you worry now. Just hold your head high. Don't turn around. The prize is not behind you.